Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Week in the Life of an eBay Reseller. In this case it's going to be 2 weeks in the life because I didn't manage to get a video out last week. I was really unwell and had a blocked nose and sounded horrendous, so I didn't bother making a video. So I'm going to wrap up last week's sales as well as this week's sales all in one video. Now the aim of these videos is to go through my eBay sales, show you everything that I've picked up throughout the week as well as what's sold, how much I sold it for, tell you what I paid, a bit about the item and any profit that I make. At the end of the video we'll go over all of the results and I'll show you how much I made at the end of the week. I source my items from charity shops, car boots, Facebook Marketplace and any retail stores that have a sale, or I can find items that are cheap. I also collect video games, so I pop into CeX and Game. I like to collect video games as well as resell them, and then the money that I make goes back into the collection. So throughout the week you'll see me go into various stores and picking some things up, so I'll show you those as well, put some footage on screen, but for the time being we're going to go through the eBay sales. So then we're going to start from 2 weeks ago and let's go through the sales. Up first I sold a brown leather Puma watch strap. Mentioned this before, bought a big watch bundle. I still do plan on doing a video for it and it will come out soon. When I say soon, probably in the next couple of months. It won't be recent, but I bought a big watch bundle and with that came a load of watches, a load of straps and a load of jewellery. So I sold a strap for $9.99. And then up next we have Crisis 2. Now this is the Nano edition on the PS3. This was one of those purchases from CeX where you go in, you find a steelbook or a collector's edition priced at the same price as the regular game. So I believe this was £2.50 and it's priced as the standard plastic case version, but this was the Nano edition variant. Now this was quite collectible and I've resold this before in the past for about £30 to £40. Now it has been listed for over a year I think, so I'm a bit surprised it took that long to sell, but it did eventually sell and I got £24.95 for that one with free postage. Up next, Alan Wake Remastered sold for £20.90 with £2.10 postage. I paid £11.98 for this from Game in the 3 for 2 sale. The interesting thing about this game is that it's out of print. I believe it only got 1 or 2 print runs, and Alan Wake 2 is download only. There's no physical copy of the game, so the first one is becoming more and more collectible. So if you do see Alan Wake Remastered on the PS4 or PS5 and even the Xbox One, I don't think it's worth as much, but it's still collectible. So if you see any of those on those 3 consoles, do pick them up if you see them at a fair price. Up next then we sold 2 Wii U games from a bundle that I've had a long time ago. This is like the last of the games that are left over. Everything else has sold. So we have New Super Mario Bros. U and Super Smash Brothers on the Wii U as well. So those two sold for $14.99 plus postage. Those again have been listed for a long time, so I'm glad those have finally gone. Those cost me about £2.50 per game, so £5 into 15, can't really complain with that one. About a couple of years ago I picked up a Nike backpack from a car boot. I think it was £2 and it said Nike Little Leagues, which I don't know if it's American football or soccer or something, but looked quite cool, quite interesting. Hadn't seen one before. It was a kid size backpack, so it does limit the market slightly, but this has been listed now for about 3 years, so I'm glad it's finally sold. It only sold for £5.50. I took an offer on it, but it was listed for around about £8 for a long time. Reduced it to £6 and then someone sent an offer for £5.50, so happy that that's gone. Probably only about £2 profit in that at most. One thing from my personal collection that I did sell and list was some Breaking Bad stickers. I was just having a clear out and I came across them. Don't need them, they're in the sale from HMV several years ago. Cost me about 25 or 30p from the HMV sale, and those sold I believe for £2.75. I think that had postage on as well, so it's about £3.50. No profit really in that, a couple of quid. The next sale is quite an interesting one. I purchased a PlayStation 4 camera and it comes with a stand in the box from CeX for around about £20. Now the camera and the stand, if you look on eBay, they don't go for much more whether you buy the camera on its own or the camera and the stand together. Now most people that buy it will just want the camera, so what I did was list the camera and the box together, and I think that sold for around about £30, so the stand actually doesn't cost me anything and I'm already in profit. Now I've sold the stand before separately because people obviously buy the camera and it falls off the TV and they want a stand. Now the unofficial stand, the knockoff ones or the cheap ones on eBay go for around about £7 to £8. including postage, and then the official one you don't see pop up very much. So I listed mine for £15 and it sold within a couple of days. So I was very happy with that markup on that one. So just a tip, if you ever get the camera and the stand, I'll always say sell the stand separate because you'll get more money. Following on from the sale earlier with the watch strap, I sold another watch strap, but this time it wasn't a Puma one, it was Kaibo, which is a German manufacturer, and this went international for £8.45. Now I think because it's a German manufacturer, most of the sales of these watch straps and watches that I've sold so far have all gone abroad, so I haven't really sold any to the UK yet. The Puma ones have been going to the UK, but this one in specific, this brand, seems to go abroad. So it seems to be more popular over there than it is in the UK. Now, I do have a lot of these watches of this brand, and they are slow sellers, so it is unfortunate. I may have to take those ones to a car boot, but they're really nice watches. The unique selling point with those is the dial lights up, you press a button, and the watch face illuminates. Really nice watches, but they're just not that popular over here, I don't think. The next sale was a bunch of Toy Story figures. Now these went international. Somebody messaged me asking if I would post it directly to the US, and I said to them that it's probably going to be too expensive. I did give them a quote and said with the tax and the import fee it may end up being a lot more. You're probably better off buying it through GSP. They asked me how much it was anyway, and I gave them a quote, and then it sold not long after to a completely different seller, but the name on the sale was for the person that messaged me before. So a little strange. I don't know if they got two accounts or if they drop shipped it and asked someone in the UK to post it to them, if they got a quote off somebody else, I don't know. But either way, those figures sold for, I believe it was, let's have a look, £12.50. So happy with that. These are Hawaiian Toy Story figures. Got these from a car boot. I only paid a couple of pounds. I think it was about £2 or £3 for a set of 4 or 5 of them. So I'm happy that those have sold. And lastly, to conclude the first week, is Oddworld Soulstorm on the PlayStation 4. This is a disc only. I bought a steelbook. I believe it was around about £15. I think it was in the game 3 for 2 actually. It might have been £17.99, so I ended up paying about £12 for it. Now I think I put down the disc as £6 and the steelbook as £6. So I paid £6 for the disc and that sold for £11. So we've almost made our money back. I've still got the steelbook listed on eBay for around about £15 or £20. So once that sells I'll be well into profit. But we've almost made the money back off the steelbook and the disc just by selling the disc. So let's quickly go through the roundup and all of the facts and figures for that week. So gross sales then, which is everything plus postage, was £161.38. The eBay fees that week were £26.35. Postage actually cost me £22.91, and the cost to buy all of the items that I sold, which was 11 things in total, was £45.98, so probably about £4 or £5 an item. And then the complete profit overall was £66.14. So yeah, another boring week, another slow sales week, but it is what it is. So let's move on to week 2. But before we do that, let's switch things up a little bit and go over a couple of things that I purchased to either keep or resell. So let's start with the CEX trip. Now this was my most recent purchase. I bought 3 games, I spent £40, and 2 of them are for the collection, and 1 will be split into 2 things, and I will be selling it on eBay. So the first one to sell is Hot Wheels Unleashed on the Xbox One. Now I will sell the disc separate, probably about £4 or £5, so I won't sell it for too much. But steelbook only, people collect the steelbooks, so I sell the steelbooks on their own. I have quite a lot in stock of these actually. I keep finding these. And they get cheaper and cheaper, so every time I just keep buying them. I probably listed them a little bit too high, but I think they're currently listed at £12 each. So I paid £6 for the whole thing, so I'll probably list this for about a tenner. So if I sell the game for £5 and the steelbook for 10 after fees, I'll probably get about £9 to £10, which is still profit, and it doesn't take me very long to list at all. The next 2 items which are for the collection then is Battlefield Bad Company Gold Edition. This is the steelbook on the PlayStation 3. So I am going for a full PS3 PAL set, so this is another one to tick off the list. Now I'm very happy to add this to the collection. It comes with the Gold Edition manual, which is great, and it also comes with the poster as well. So that is fully complete, and the disc also says Gold Edition. So other than a few little bits of rust or marks on the case, It's in really good condition and comes fully complete with everything in it, so I was happy to pay £12 for that from CEX. And the last one is a variant. I don't know what the actual variant is called, but it's the red version or the red cover of Demon Souls. Now this usually comes with a blue cover. There's no difference in the manual or disc, unfortunately. I don't think there should be, but the front cover is red instead of blue. Now it is quite an expensive game. This was £22, so it is quite an expensive variant to have, but it's nice to have both covers, and when I come to sell it I can potentially sell them both together and get a bit more money that way. So those were some video game pickups from CEX. Next we've got a bit of a strange one. I popped into Clinton's card to get a wedding card for my friend, and they had a sale section or a clearance section. So I went in and I bought the lot essentially. So we got a great big bag here. Now they are just the same thing, so there's only a couple of things in here, but we've got two different designs. So these are 2024 deluxe wall calendars. Now you might be wondering why I bought calendars in May. We're halfway through the year pretty much, going into June, and why would anyone want a calendar? No wonder they were in the clearance section. Well, that may be true, and they were £1 each. They were originally sold for £13.99 each, but these aren't just normal advent calendars. These are collector's edition or deluxe edition calendars, and these actually come with 12 art prints. So at the top you have the month and a day for each of the days in the month, and then you have a corrugated section, and underneath is the art print. So on the back here you do see like all of the different patterns and designs, and these are frame ready prints. So essentially, if you forget that it's an advent calendar, each print that you pull out does not have a month on it, so if you hang this on your wall you're never going to know it came from an advent calendar. But these essentially can be framed, and there's 12 prints inside which are very nice, ready to go onto someone's wall. Now I could, if I wanted to, rip them all out, buy a cheap frame, put them in the frame and sell them as prints, and someone else that buys this might do that, but I'm just happy to sell them as they are. Now I've listed them for around about £8 to £10 each, so hopefully these will start to sell through. We've got 16 in total, so if I can make about £100 back on these I'll be very happy. I only spent £16 in total, so it won't take me long. I'll only need to sell 2 or 3 to get my money back, and the rest is profit. Now in terms of purchases over the last 2 weeks, they have been quite slim. I haven't been to charity shops. I've also not been to car boots, partly because I don't have much money for the car boot, and secondly the weather is always hit and miss, and it always seems to rain on the days that I can go, and it's really sunny on the days that I'm busy or need a lie-in and just don't want to get up at 5 AM. So unfortunately there's no car boot pickups, and I haven't been to charity shops as I mentioned. I did pop into Game however and go and take advantage of the 50% off on all of their pre-owned games. Now I went in on Friday and I left with a big fat stack, but unfortunately I'm going to do a separate video on that, and I'm going to go through each game individually. If I add it in this video it'll be too long. So if you do want to check out what games I picked up, then go and check that out. But I spent £132 and it should have come to £264, so I did get a good deal. Quite a lot of the games I will be selling, but there are a couple in there that I want to play first before I sell them, or at least add them to the collection. So that will be a separate video, but that is everything that I've picked up so far. So now it's time to go back to this week and go over everything that has sold in the last week. So before we go over to week 2 and basically last week, go over everything that sold, we did have a return. Now this one's a little bit annoying because I sent it out in good condition and it was returned in a plastic bag, and the cardboard is a bit damaged there. There's some damage at the bottom, and there's a bit of damage there, and it's neither here nor there. It's just a tiny bit of damage. It's a bit annoying, as obviously as a collector I noticed the damage whereas other people might not, but it's frustrating that I sent it out in good condition and they basically said that they lost the steelbook, hence why they bought it, and they found it again and wanted to return it. I have no choice because I'm a business, so I have to accept the return. They've returned the item and they sent it in a plastic bag, and unfortunately it's got a little bit damaged in the post. I've had to refund them in full because they've returned it. I'm not going to bother fighting over a few little scuffed edges. I did read somewhere that if you're a business seller with a high rating, you can return or refund, sorry, 50%, but I didn't want to be a dick over a few little marks on the case. But it is a little bit annoying because if I go to resell that now, I have to put that as like average or like good condition, whereas before it was probably very good condition. But anyway, that's been returned, so that needs relisting. But let's get into this week's sales. So overall, another poor week, but we'll go through it anyway. So I made 10 sales in total, and the first thing was a Hot Wheels monster truck set. This one was the Super Mario one, so I've sold both the Star Wars and the Mario ones now. I paid 15 for the pair, so they were $7.50 each, and the Mario ones sold for a little bit more this time. So they sold for $17.79 in total. I believe I listed them for about £14-15, that includes the postage. So yeah, not a bad profit on that. After fees, probably make about £6-7, and I think the Star Wars ones are made about £2 or £3. So between the two, I made a tenner. 2 brand new items. Didn't take me very long to list, and they've been packed and posted, and away they both go. So happy with that. Now the next sale was the biggest item that I had in my garage, other than the Henry Hoover, which, don't ask, it's not listed. It's just been sat there. At this point, he's just the background of the video, and I might just leave him there, so I don't know yet. But other than the Henry Hoover, I sold a Nerf gun. I only picked that up a couple of weekends ago at the car boot, but it was literally this big, and it really struggled to find a box to fit the thing in. But I paid £4 for that from the car boot, and that sold for $23.99. I took an offer, I think it was up for $25.99. Took an offer, $23.99. Plus postage, so £30 all in. Cost me £6.10 to post with Hermes because it was cheaper than Royal Mail or Every, and I posted that, and I believe that's got there okay. Glad to see that one go, especially as it's a big bulky item. So the next sale, I do actually have a separate one on hand. It is this Metal Gear Solid Revengeance Steelbook. Now it's not this exact one, but the story behind this is I purchased 20 to 25 from a car boot, and I believe they were £1 or £2 each, and I asked how much for the whole bag, and I believe I paid £20 for 25 or 30, and they worked out about 75 pence a piece. So I haven't actually listed them, because if I show you this one, for example, the condition varies, so it is sealed. However, there's some tears in there. There's some marks on it. There's a dent here. Some of them have rusting. The bag got wet at the car boot, so when I bought them, some of them were wet, and over time they've started to rust and like corrode or whatever. So condition varies on each one. So what I'm going to be doing going forward is listing them all individually. Just do one at a time, and when it sells, replace it, retake the photos, re-upload it. But there was one out of the set that was not sealed. All of them are sealed. There's one that wasn't sealed, and I sold that for $6.99, and that had some visible dents, rust and damage to it. But they are quite collectible steelbooks, so something like this I would be listing for around £15 to £20. That one, I was going to throw it in the bin, to be honest, because it was rusty and had a dent in it, but I thought someone might still want it, so $6.99. That sold overnight, actually, really quickly, so glad to see that one go. Now the next thing that I sold was a Moomin plush toy. Now I can't remember where I got this from. I think it was a charity shop sometime this year, but I only paid £1 for that one, and that has sold for $7.99 plus postage. It's just a little white Moomin plush toy. I'll put some footage on screen. Nothing really to shout about with that one. Up next, not really sure where I got this one from. It was 20 pence, I think it was, from a charity shop or a car boot. I can't remember. I've had it absolutely donkey's years, and that was £3.85 I got for that with free postage. So yeah, a bit of a fail on that one. It was a sealed DVD. It had a sticker saying £17 on it, so I figured it'd be worth a gamble, as it was in a cheap media clearance section, so I think it was from a charity shop. But yeah, the gamble didn't pay off. After fees I got about £1.20 for that, so not worth it at all. What's next? A Whistles dress. Now I got a big bundle of clothes from a family friend, and there was loads of stuff in there. Lots of vintage and sort of retro clothing. This one, not so much vintage or retro, but it's a good brand, and it's a Whistles black dress, size 12 I believe, and that has sold for £6.50 plus postage. Doesn't cost me anything, so just happy to take some money for that one. And now going on to, from the largest item I've sold, I've now sold the smallest item that I have, other than like a coin or a DS game or something like that. But the smallest items are these little tiny Disney mini brands. Now I'll put some footage on screen, but with those, they are literally just tiny miniature versions of actual Disney toys and products that you can buy from the Disney store. And they are packed into these little eggs. Me and my girlfriend bought them just to, I wanted an alien, which I didn't get unfortunately, so I still need to buy that on eBay. But we bought them just for a laugh, just to see what was in there and what they look like. And I don't really need them, so I've flipped those on. Probably lost money on those, to be honest. I think they're about £8 an egg, and I got £8 for the bundle. So yes, definitely lost money, unfortunately. But with those things, you're never going to make profit. They are just pay to win, aren't they? You just buy as many as you can to try and get them all, and you end up with a load of duplicates, and then when you go to sell them, they're not worth anywhere near as much as what you paid for them. So then, the next items have sold over the weekend, and I actually haven't posted them yet. I'll be posting them Tuesday so I can show you those in person. So I'm just going to go and grab those from the shelf now, and I'll show you and tell you how much I paid and sold them for. So then we've sold 3 more things. They're all media, so let's get into it. So the first one is NBA 2K18 on the PS3. Picked this up not too long ago, paid £6 from CeX, from experience from collecting PS3. I know that this is quite a valuable game, as it's the last basketball NBA game on the PS3 that was released. So this sold for £13.90 plus postage, so I think all in I got about £16 for that one. Up next then, we've got these 2 PSP games. Now these sold for £5.99 plus postage, but I only paid £1 for the 2 from a car boot. I got 4 games for £2. So we've got Transformers the game, and that is nice and complete with the manual. And then we've also got Juiced Eliminator, which is complete as well with the manual. So those 2 games wasn't really worth much selling on their own. One of the other games I got was Gran Turismo on the PSP, and that sold for around about £8, so I'm well into profit now. That sold for £8 and these sold for £5.99. Lastly, to round off the week, the last sale was Aladdin Original Motion Picture Soundtrack cassette tape. Now I paid £1 for 5 cassette tapes, and I picked out all of the Disney ones, and they sold. There's 2 left. This is one of them, so there's 1 left now. This was £6.50 plus postage. Been lingering for a while, but the soundtracks do quite well, especially the Disney ones. So for 20p into £6.50, I'm not going to complain at that one. So that wraps up everything for the last 2 weeks. Sorry if it's been a boring video, but there's not been too much going on, and as I said, I've been really ill. I've also been trying to save money for car boots again, because I can't really go to the car boot unless I have money. The sales, as you can see from what I'm making, is not a lot, and not enough really to have enough in the bank to justify going and spending £200 at a car boot. So it is a bit of a patience at the moment, and just trying to grind and keep listing. So in the week as well, I have been listing lots of stuff. So all of the stuff that I bought from the car boot a couple of weekends ago in the last video that you might have seen, those have all been listed now, or at least most of them. I've drafted all of them, listed at least 60 to 70% of them. There's just a few left to go. So hopefully that will start to bring in some more sales and some more money, and then I can get back to the car boots again. I'll probably go next weekend. This weekend it was rained off, and it was bank holiday weekend, which is a shame because there were 3 car boots on, and I was planning to go to at least 2 of them. The one on Saturday, I felt like I didn't really have enough money to justify it. Then I had a bit of a boom over the weekend. On Saturday night I made quite a lot of sales, which we'll see next week. And then Sunday, when I was prepared to go, it was rained off, and today it's also been rained off, which is a shame. So can't really get to car boots, but I will be going back as soon as I can, and hopefully get some exciting items to show you, and we'll make some more money. As professional as ever, but my phone is about to die. It's on about 5%, which means I've got about 1 minute of recording time left. So let's just quickly wrap up the week. So gross sales, which is everything plus postage, was £129.85. Fees was £24.68, and the postage was £27.32. The cost to buy all of those items that just sold, the 10 items, was £42.20, which leaves me a overall profit for the week of a measly £35.65, which is really rubbish. So over the 2 weeks, made about £100. Can't complain too much, but at the same time, it's not great, is it? But yeah, it is what it is. We've sold what we've sold. There's about 12 1 week and I think 10 the next week, so 22 items out the door, so can't complain. See you on the next one.